All right, we're going to get going here. So thank you for taking the time to do that. Thank you to those who plugged something into the chat box. So let me just run through those since I promised I would say your name if you put one on there. So Julie Nuis put in there, enjoying her morning walk exercise while watching. So first goal of the day. Good job, Julie. And then Julie Dennis says, grateful this morning for peace, stillness, and soft whisperings to the heart and soul of love. Gratitude and peace in the midst of all of the challenges of life. So that one was profound. So thanks, Julie. Mary, good morning. Today I'm grateful for my clients trusting in me throughout the whole process to get the job done and appreciating my work, which is awesome, and it does make it rewarding. Marissa, grateful to tuck my kids in bed last night after a fun family evening, which is awesome. And then Stefan said, I'm grateful I made it on the Zoom call this morning. Then I got a good run in this morning and that my milk was not expired. That's a good one. And I was able to meditate a little this morning. And then Cindy, grateful for friendship turning 100 years young. For her friend turning 100 years young. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for being all on here. Thank you for taking the time to do that. I know as you sit and you take the time to journal, it is going to create the change in that you want to have take place. So I've got a couple of things that have been kind of rattling around in my head this morning that I thought I might talk about. And before I do that, though, let me kind of just talk a little bit. I mentioned last week that we're going to start getting more of the in-person meetings going, and we're going to finalize that today. But the plan as of right now is next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, will be broadcast live from the 6th floor training room. So any of you that are close by Union Park, please plan on being here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday next week. Tuesday and Thursday will be done in each of the offices. So every office on Tuesday and Thursday is going to do their own morning ascent in their own office. So just kind of plan for that. Tuesdays will be some type of a skills training. And then Thursday is when we're going to implement the book club. So look forward to that. So the idea then will be every day, though, it will still always be broadcast on this link from Union Park. So if for some reason you're not able to make it into your office, you can jump on and watch this link. But we're hoping to start getting people more together in office. I mean, like I said, today is probably the biggest number of people in person that we've had at Morning Ascent since COVID hit. And it was kind of cool to, after doing one, have a bunch of people doing the affirmations, but two, a bunch of people walking around high-fiving. So anyway, so plan for that. If you'll plan for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will always be broadcast live from the 6th floor here, but we want to have more people in person. So here's probably what I would say the difference is. Ultimately, like today, I'm staring at my laptop, even though I've got a bunch of people in the room. Next week, I think I'm doing Morning Ascent Wednesday. I will not be staring at the laptop. I'm going to be staring at the people in the room. You guys on Zoom will just kind of be seeing us. That's kind of the plan of how it's going to look like going forward. So anyway, plan for that. So thanks for being here. Now, here's what I want to talk about is, so two things that I'm going to touch on, and at least I hope I get to the second thing. We'll see. But here's the first thing. We do that Napoleon Hill self-confidence formula every morning. And the whole idea of that is Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie had Napoleon Hill go out and interview all of these wealthy people who are successful to figure out what is it that they do that makes them successful. Well, he then compiled the book, Think and Grow Rich, which obviously, basically what he's saying in that is our thoughts that go on in our head is what is going to then manifest themselves out into our life. So Napoleon Hill, what he found is that these top successful people that were wealthy and successful in their businesses and the things they were doing, they were that because of the beliefs and things that they have in their mind. Well, now go back to 2008, 2009, when John, George, Rob Oakey, and a couple of other people are sitting around a conference room table, and George says, let's start a real estate company. Well, part of what they decided is what they wanted to do is create a company where people will become their very best. See, at the end of the day, the mission of Everest the mission of George Morris, which here's what's interesting to me on that. When I came here, which has been actually 5 years, next week, I'll be 5 years, I think. No, you're 6. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. 6 years next week. But when I got here, one of the things that I found was interesting is how much time George would spend individually with agents. Like, I was shocked that the owner of the company and the CEO, I probably should say, was spending so much time individually coaching the agents. And in fact, I would even tell you at Coldwell Banker, before I came over here, when we would lose agents, they would tell us that the reason they were coming over to Everest was because George was personally going to coach them. And I remember sitting in our manager meetings over at Coldwell Banker and talking about it and saying, yeah, there's no way that's going to last. That's a short-term thing that he'll only do it a couple of times and then he'll never do it again. But even yesterday, I was up on the 6th floor here, standing outside of George's office as an agent was waiting to meet with him. As soon as he got done with that agent, he was meeting with another one. Well, the whole objective, and here's the other piece of this, is after that first agent came out of the meeting, I asked her, so what did you and George talk about? Not that it really is really any of my business, but I was more curious of what kind of advice did he give you? And she said, we talked about gratitude. So it just kind of blows my mind a little bit that George would spend so much time on that. Well, here's the reason why. The reason why Everest is what it is because our number one objective at Everest is for you to become your very best. That's what we want to accomplish at Everest, is for you to become the type of person who can achieve the goals and things that you have in mind. So now with that in mind, this is what I wanted to share a little bit about, is there are 3 ways to affect change in your life. So now keep in mind, the basis of what we're talking about here is you becoming your best, right? So as we try to strive and to work on becoming our very best, there are 3 ways that you can go about affecting those changes. And so the first one is what we typically do. So the way, in fact, 2 out of the 3 things that I'm going to talk about are the ways that we usually go about affecting change in our life. But the problem is the third one that I'm going to talk about is the one that makes the biggest impact, yet we typically don't apply it into our lives to make the change, which is why it is so hard for us to make change. So the first way, and the way that typically you and I go about change, is if we decided we wanted to exercise more, you want to eat healthier, you want to get more business, you wanted to quit smoking, whatever it is, typically what happens is we then try to approach it from the standpoint of creating an outcome. So what happens is that we look at it and say, okay, I want to get skinny. And so we're looking at the outcome that we're trying to accomplish. And that's and not a bad place to start, by the way. In fact, you probably need to start there. But that's typically the way we approach change, is we make a decision of something that we want to be different in our life. And then we say, this is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to then lose weight. Or we say, I'm going to quit smoking, whatever it is. So we're approaching it from the outcome that we want to achieve. Well, so that's the first way in which people will typically try to approach change. The second way that we try to approach change is through our habits, or probably the better way of saying it is through the process. We take a look at the process. So if I said I wanted to lose weight, we then would look at the process. Well, what's the process that I have to go through in order for that to take place? Well, I need to change the way I'm eating. I'm going to have to start to exercise. And we start to then approach the change. So we first look at, here's the outcome I want to have. Now, what's the process in which that I'm going to have to go through in order to affect that change? And then we start to work on the process. Well, the third way that we make change, and this is probably the most important piece of this, and we don't typically stop and think about it, is we have to change our identity. We have to change the way we identify ourselves. Now, so let me go back to, probably for me, the easiest way to explain this to you is to think about it. I had not brought up somebody who said, I want to quit smoking. There's the outcome. Okay, so what's the process? Well, I'm going to reduce the number of cigarettes, or I'm going to whatever. They look at and come up with a process that they're going to go through. Well, the best way for us to make a change is based on who we become. So it's back now, tying it back to our becoming. And the way that we have to do that is how we identify ourselves. So it's the identity of the change. Now, so here's what I mean by that. Someone who was wanting to quit smoking, and someone, a friend of theirs or whatever, offers them a cigarette, what they would probably say is, oh no, I'm trying to quit. Or let's think about it in terms of diet. So if you are wanting to lose weight, which by the way, we need to change the language of that too. We usually will approach it and we'll say, I want to lose weight. What would you do if you lost your wallet? You're going to go try to find it. Guess what we do when we lose weight? We figure we're going to have to go try to find it. See, so this is what I'm talking about. If you want to affect change, you have to affect the change of what you believe about yourself. See, that's the whole idea of the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. You've got to change what your thoughts are. See, instead of saying, I want to lose weight, see, anytime you lose your wallet, you got to go find it. You lose your keys, you want to go find your keys. Well, guess what happens if you want to lose weight? See, so you got to change the way you approach it, the way you talk about it. So somebody who really was truly wanting to quit smoking, and I like that, this one's just the easiest way to explain it. If somebody offered them a cigarette, they would say, no, I'm not a smoker. See, that's how I would do it. If somebody offered me, hey, do you want a cigarette? I'd be like, no, I don't smoke. Well, so if you want to change that in your life, you have to change that belief here of that I don't smoke. So like, why would I want a cigarette? See, I eat healthy. Why would I want to eat that donut? Even though it does sound pretty good. I'm just kidding. All right. So that's, if you want to affect change in your life, that's the way you have to do it, is you first have to look at it and say, okay, what's the outcome I want? What's the process that I need to take to get there? And then the third area, which again, this is the piece that we don't tend to do, is you have to change what the thoughts and who you fundamentally are. See, that's why we talk so much as a company about it's who you become. See, if you want to do $1 million in real estate commissions in a year, you have to become the type of person who does that. See, that's what's going to make the change. I was teaching a class 2 days ago, and in that class I was talking about, as a brand new agent, my manager had said to me, the number of contacts you do in a day will be the number of transactions you do in a year. Well, here's the problem with that. I didn't believe that that was really true. So as a result, I was doing 50 contacts every day. I would do 50 contacts, but I was not closing 50 transactions every year. Yet we've got Brian Burnett down in St. George that if I remember right, and I might be off slightly, but his goal is to do 50 contacts a day. Well, so I was doing 50 contacts a day, and I would think that year I had made, like 17 closings or something like that. Yet you got Brian Burnett who does 50 contacts a day and is closing 150 transactions. So the number of contacts isn't the issue, it's who you believe that you are. And do you believe you deserve to have those type of things? Well, so then that leads us to the next question, which, so I'm not looking at the clock, I am not going to get to the number 2 thing. I'll save that for next week for you. But how do we affect the change then? How do we create the identity? How do we get ourselves to identify as whatever it is that we're wanting that to be, as a non-smoker, as a healthy person, as a successful real estate agent, happy in your relationship, whatever it is? How do we identify that way? Well, the way that we do it is through the process. So this is how, so think of this as like a Mobius strip, which I probably should have brought a piece of paper to. A Mobius strip, by the way, is the only one-sided element, I don't know if element's the right word, in the universe, by the way. But think of it as like this Mobius strip. There's like not really a front or a back. And a lot of times, if I would have been thinking, I would have brought a paper to show you what I mean. If you can take that and you can put the pen on it and pull the paper around, and it without lifting the paper, you draw on the entire piece of paper to where there's not 2 sides to it. And so think of it that way, this is all like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, is another way of saying that. That's what I'm saying here, is we have to decide what we want. So decide what it is you want, figure out what are the steps that are going to get you there. And then the difference between those who make it to becoming what they want and the ones who don't is being able to change what you identify yourself as. If you can if your identity can relate to I am healthy, then you're going to eat healthy. But if at the bottom, if the back of your mind, you're saying, I'm just going to lose weight, you don't truly believe you're healthy, you're not going to make the change. See, and the first level you have to identify what your beliefs are is the language you use around it. So start paying attention to the language that you use as you talk about making change, and notice if you're talking about it in terms of future, like that it someday is going to happen, versus this is who I am today. Now, the way we get to believe that, because here's the thing, it's no different than us doing our affirmations. And every time I get to the, I don't know, let's see if I can find one real quick here. I drink water daily. That's probably a good one. For a long time, what would happen is I would say that as we did it, and in the back of my mind, it was saying BS. That's not true. You don't do that. See, so you have to relate to, and I'm sure you guys all have that as you read through. Yeah, there's a few of those. I'm sure every one of you, as you read through these, you get to them, you're like, yep, that's not true. I don't do that. But see, if we want to change, we have to get ourselves to believe that is who we are. Well, so how do we do that? We do that through the process part of it. See, think of it as this. In order for someone to win an election, you don't have to get every single vote to win the election. You just have to have more votes in your favor than the other person. Well, the same thing applies to you identifying to yourself as this changed person you want to be. It's okay if you have those doubts creep in, but the underlying message has got to be, no, that is who I am. And that is what it is. Now, how do we do it? It is through the process. It is by taking the steps. See, if you will eat fruits and vegetables every day, you're going to slowly get to the point where you realize, no, I'm healthy and I like to eat healthy food and it tastes better and all those kinds of things. That's how we get the change. So just in wrapping up with you for today, just keep in mind that if you want to affect change in your life, you first have to have the outcome in place. Second, the processes or the steps you're going to take to get there. But the third and most important piece is you have to then become and believe that is who you are. No different than a person who wants to quit smoking has to say, no, I'm not a smoker. As long as they're saying, I'm trying to quit, what they're telling you is they're not going to quit. That unless they can create it in their mind to believe it. We have to believe it or we're not going to make the change. All right. Heavy. I feel like that was kind of a heavy one today. So Chad said I lost him at fruits and vegetables. So, all right. Hey, so thanks for being with me. Let's run through the affirmations. As you get to those ones that you don't believe in, get yourself to start to believe in it. And it's through making those slight little changes that you slowly are going to believe that that's who it is. All right. So let's wrap it up. Thanks for being here. Do our closing affirmations once I can get them pulled up here.